Well, hello everyone. Again, this is Dr. David. Welcome to tonight's presentation on glutathione and cancer with James Spencer. Remember, these presentations are not to be used as information for you to neglect or put aside your doctor's expert advice, especially if you are receiving chronic treatment or you are on chronic medication or chronic illness. Please check with your doctor before you make any drastic changes. These presentations are to help you take care of yourself. You have a responsibility to yourself. You let your doctor take care of your disease. You be sure to take care of your health. And I always use this quote before James's presentations because glutathione is just an amazing research subject, and it has to do with food, the food we eat. And so I would love this quote. As knowledge with regard to the effect of food upon man increases, it is more than conceivable that the races that first avail themselves of the new values of nutrition may decrease the handicaps of disease. And we're certainly seeing that. Lengthen their lives, that as well, and so become leaders of the future. Now, one of the things I don't mention when I quote this is that our brain, our ability to function, our brain's ability to take in information is directly related to the nutrition that we take in. The better the nutrition, the better our brains will function. And evolutionary biologists, they have something. I'm certainly not proposing that, but we're still talking about science here. One of the reasons they feel that we are the more dominant species on the planet is because of the size of our brains. So the more effective our brains are, the more we're able to reason and to calculate and to conceptualize, the more effective we will be on this earth. And certainly we need that, especially in this very competitive world. So again, the better your nutrition, the better your brain will function, and the better you will function as a person. All right, I'm going to hand this over to James now, and as I do that, I'm just going to mention again, as I mentioned earlier, that James has been providing good quality information when it comes to glutathione, and also showing us how to enable our bodies to produce more of this wonderful substance in our bodies. James has been teaching and training people around the world now for over 15 years, and he has worked as a pharmaceutical representative and has worked on research with several doctors when it comes to the aspect of glutathione enhancement in the human body. And he is very special in that he can translate this information for lay people. So he gets all the technical data and he breaks it down for the layperson to understand. So James, thank you again for doing these presentations. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. David, and welcome all in the various parts of the United States and Canada. And as it turns out, we're also starting to get some international visitors, so welcome all of you. Tonight we are going to focus on the benefits of glutathione with cancer therapy. And so as we go through it, if you have some questions, please make note of it on some scrap paper, and then we'll have a question and answer part at the end. As you probably may know, cancer is now the #1 killer in the United States, and of course it's ranking high worldwide. Its dramatic increase is directly related to immune system function. And there's been a huge shift. 100 years ago, the top 3 causes of death in the United States happened to be #1, pneumonia and influenza, #2, tuberculosis, and #3, diarrhea. But if you look at what's happened in the past 100 years, the current top 3 causes of death is #1, cancer, #2, heart attacks, and #3, stroke. And interestingly, all of these maladies are related to whether or not you have a sufficient amount of glutathione in your body. Now, the dramatic increase of cancer is also due to a number of other factors that have happened in the last several decades. For one thing, there's been huge environmental changes on planet Earth. Our health is already in trouble because of the huge quality of air deteriorating. The water quality is deteriorated, and the food quality with the tremendous amount of sprays and pesticides has also denigrated the food supply. Stress is now hugely responsible for health issues. And all of these factors have increased the amount of illness now worldwide. There's also new diseases that are spreading into the United States from other parts of the world. We've had a steady stream of new diseases at about a rate of one major disease per year for the last 30 years. One of the things that are most fearful are some of the viruses that are mutating and becoming or having the ability to transfer from animals to humans. Of course, bird flu still has not become contagious, but we experienced a huge fear with the swine flu, which became infectious and was able to be transferred from human to human. And it went around the whole planet in about 3 months, and it had a 1% death rate. Unfortunately, bird flu has a 62% death rate. So we still have perhaps some very fearful times ahead of us. There's superbugs that have infected the hospital intensive care units, like MRSA and C. clonidus difficile. Older men and women are increasingly taking more and more drugs. These have an effect in changing the alkalinity of their bodies. Since there are no drugs that are alkaline, they're all acidic, they tend to get more and more degenerative disease. They're in hospitals and nursing homes ever more. It's been really postulated that the immune system is really critical in ameliorating all of the foregone problems. And a simple definition of your immune system is really your body's defense system. And it's needed for bacterial and viral and parasitical and fungal infections. But what is little known is that it actually can ameliorate pollution. It can ameliorate the bad effects of household drugs. A strong immune system can also protect you from cancer and inflammation, which is really one of the key elements of how fast you age. Now, most people don't know that there's really things that you can do about your immune system. They don't know that there is benefits from certain regimens and modalities. Typically speaking, doctors are not specialists in the immune system field, and so they will generally give you a few things that you could do. They might tell you to have to eat right, sleep well, exercise, control your stress, and have a good lifestyle. But most people really are not able to do these to really optimal levels. I mean, let's face it, how many of us do 8 to 12 fruits and vegetables every day? How many of us sleep 8.5 or 9 hours a day? How many exercise 30 to 60 minutes in the gym every day? How many have perfect control of stress? How many have the perfect lifestyle? You don't smoke, you don't drink heavily, you wave goodbye to McDonald's and Burger King when you drive by them. But let's say that you were fanatically able to do all of these things. The fact is you've left off the most important element of immune function, and it's not even on the list. The absolutely critical thing to immune support is raising glutathione levels. And glutathione, again, is a paradox. In my opinion, it's amazing that very few people know what glutathione is or have even heard of it. The average person goes through 12 years of school and has never even heard the word. But it's a substance that actually appears in every cell of your body. And it's actually the most critical protector of your body. It's like a gateway to the human cell. It allows things to come into the cell and go out of the cell, but it protects you from the harmful things and lets out any harmful things that develop in the cell. So glutathione is critical to cellular function. Now, in order for you to make glutathione, and you notice I emphasize the word make, you can't make it unless you've got these 3 amino acids prevalent in the bloodstream. But the one that's the most critical, which is going to decide whether you personally are going to make sufficient glutathione, is this very hard to find amino acid, cysteine. In fact, it's been called the rate-limiting factor of glutathione production. Now, 20 years ago, you couldn't even find information on glutathione. The truth is, even 15 years ago, 12, 13 years ago, when I started researching it, if you looked it up in a medical encyclopedia, you could only find a couple of sentences on glutathione. But if you were to research it in PubMed, which is the National Library of Medicine, you'll find that there are now over 95,000 published medical and scientific papers on glutathione. So it's a huge amount of research that is unknown to the general public, and you could never read this in a lifetime. Now, obviously, there's been enough research that we're able to now see its importance. And one of the men that I have to tip my hat to, who really was fundamentally the instrument by which glutathione became known, was Dr. Bunos discovered for the first time how to get the human body to make more glutathione. And he also found its critical necessity for immune function. And he found that without glutathione, our immune system cannot function. And as glutathione levels drop, our ability to fight off disease also declines. Now, for those of you listening in tonight on the telephones or on the computers, don't you think you should have heard this from somebody at some point in your life? Imagine that the power of this statement. Without glutathione, our immune system can't function. And most people don't even know what glutathione is. So we have a lot of work ahead of us to get this to be known by people. Now, Bunos, who also discovered the proteins that eventually became known as immunical, is considered the grandfather of glutathione. He's a very intelligent man who was given a medal of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada at the age of 36. And he was made a career investigator of the Medical Research Council and a lifetime member of the Research Council. So he was funded for life at the age of 36. He's really received so many honors, but one of the main ones that I was privileged to attend was the Gustavo Bunos Research Foundation, which was set up 2 years ago at McGill University. And it now awards large checks to people that are on the cutting edge of bioresearch. And we expect to see that continue into the future. Well, obviously, with 95,000 published papers, we have a huge amount of data, but I'm going to very concisely pool it into 5 key elements that glutathione is able to do, all of them involved with what it can do for cancer. I remember these 5 things by this acronym ANIDEA, and it stands for AN, antioxidant, I, immune support, D, detoxification, E, energy, A, anti-aging. Let's consider, first of all, antioxidant. Most of you probably take antioxidants, and of course 40 years ago most people never even knew what an antioxidant was. But we now know that there's vitamins A and E and C and B1 and B2 and B6 and B12 and selenium and so forth. All of these antioxidants have the ability to do something very critical. They can lower oxidative stress in your body. Now, oxidative stress is almost an unknown term to the general public. But if you were to type in oxidative stress in Google, believe it or not, there's 20 million websites now discussing oxidative stress. In fact, Google maxes out at 20 million, so there may be far more than that. What is it? It's the difference in your body between your oxidation and your antioxidation. And if you know the principle of a seesaw, if you have too much weight on one side or the other, the seesaw is going to be thrown off. Same thing in your body. If you have too high of an oxidative stress level, you're going to have higher rates of inflammation, you're going to age at a faster rate, you're going to die sooner. If you can lower the oxidative stress level, you're going to be able to lower inflammation. You will age at a slower rate. You'll live longer. And I'm sure you like the latter point more so than the first. But inflammation is out of control. In the United States, it's proven to be the alpha and the omega of heart disease. It's probably the #1 cause of heart disease. And it's, of course, the #1 killer of women in the United States. The oxidation of cholesterol literally causes heart disease. As the cholesterol gets sticky and coats the epithelial, it forms plaque. The plaque will grow and grow and grow until it blocks an artery and causes a heart attack. If it ruptures, it will cause a blood clot leading to stroke. But either way, you're going to be crippled or killed because of the oxidation. And they have found that a very tiny enzyme in your body is very critical in controlling this. It's called glutathione peroxidase. Again, it gets back to this glutathione mechanism. And so very important to control it. The way it works is this. Inside of our body, the vast majority of safe, stable molecules in our body are called H2O. And you know that to be water. About 70% of our body is water, where there's one oxygen molecule, 2 hydrogen. Now, when you breathe and when you eat, you actually form a byproduct when you create energy, and it's known as an unstable molecule, or OH molecule. It's an oxyradical. Now, this unstable molecule will try its best to steal hydrogen from other parts of the body, and it'll do anything to be able to do that. That's the danger of these oxyradicals, and when these oxyradicals become too prevalent in your body, then you have this vast amount of oxidative stress. Now, the mechanism for glutathione is able to do something very unique. When it comes in contact with OH molecules, it passes off a hydrogen molecule and neutralizes the OH molecule. And when it does that, it itself compresses down and forms a GSSG. And so this molecule is now safe and can be recharged later on by certain things you can do in your body. This means that the only antioxidant which your body does not get rid of is glutathione. All the other ones like vitamin C and vitamin E and vitamin B, your body has to get rid of them after they use up their hydrogen. So glutathione is called an endogenous antioxidant. All of the other ones are called exogenous, like vitamin C and vitamin E. So if you can imagine a gear shift that's turning inside of your body, the glutathione molecule is able to not only pass off hydrogen internally in the cell to oxyradicals, it also can pass off hydrogen back to vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin B, lipoic acid, and it can recharge and recycle all of the other vitamins. What a tremendous benefit. So it's of note that when you are raising glutathione or enhancing glutathione in your body, you actually do not have to take as many other antioxidants because it recharges those other antioxidants all day long. So you have less need of the other antioxidants. Dr. Pressman calls glutathione the most important antioxidant. Dr. Mendel calls it the master antioxidant. Now let's get into the letter I, the first letter of idea. It stands for the immune system. Now what's the purpose of the immune system? Well, it's primarily to protect you from things that are not supposed to be in your body. And we have a lot of these things. We have bacteria, we have viruses, we have funguses, we have parasites. But I think the most important aspect about your immune system is its ability to form the killer T cells and help them track down and kill off the dangerous things in your body. Now in this case, this T cell is about to eat a tumor cell. Now is that a good way to get rid of cancer? Absolutely. So you literally have a protection in your body that can eat cancer cells if you can have enough of these T cells. Unfortunately, on the average, you can have 1 million cancer cells at any one time in your body. So if you don't have enough T cells, then is when the cancer can proliferate. Now let me put this in very clear perspective. This is something we did not know 25 years ago. You cannot make T cells without the availability of, guess what? Glutathione. Isn't that interesting? You can't make T cells without the availability of glutathione. Now, for that reason, many of the top researchers in the world have pointed out that glutathione and cystine deficiency is at the root of many of the wasting states that come from AIDS and cancer. Dr. Bunos found that the clonal expansion of your lymphocytes is dependent on glutathione. Dr. Gutman found that it's the food for the immune system. So you literally cannot have a good immune system which will help you fight cancer without the availability of glutathione. Now let's get into the subject of detoxification. You probably are aware that the organ that does the most detoxifying of your body is something called your liver. But the #1 cause of liver failure in the United States has now been revealed at the FDA website. And guess what it is? Tylenol. Tylenol is the #1 cause of liver failure in the United States. In fact, in Europe, it's one of the #1 causes of suicide. A person takes 10 extra strength Tylenol, a glass of scotch, and they'll be dead in 96 hours, usually total liver failure. Now, if they can get you into a medical emergency room, they can inject you with a synthetic form of cystine, and it will raise the glutathione levels in your liver, and it will detoxify the Tylenol and save your life. Now, a lot of doctors know automatically to use this synthetic form of cystine. It's called N-acetylcysteine. But many of them don't even know that the real mechanism is the glutathione. That's what's really saving the patient's life. Now, when it comes to detoxifying, it's absolutely astonishing how many things glutathione is able to detoxify. Look at this partial list. Some of you ladies probably are aware of acetone because you use it to take off your fingernail polish, but it goes right through your skin. It travels to the liver. It's very toxic. You've got things like solvents and fuels, even the fuels you breathe while you're putting gas in your car. Smoked foods, salami, hot dogs, barbecued foods, fuel exhaust, cigarettes. You notice they put barbecued foods and cigarettes in the same classification. I hate telling you that because I enjoy barbecued foods too, but they're considered somewhat dangerous. And then there's heavy metals, lead, mercury, cadmium, cobalt. Mercury, of course, has gotten very toxic or very much increased in toxicity because it's so much more prevalent today than it was 10 years ago. And maybe one of the major causes of why autism is gotten so much higher. But we'll be talking about autism in a future study that will a future webinar. Now, if you think that you don't need this, just think about all of the aspects of things that you're exposed to on a daily basis. Secondhand cigarette smoke. Our children might come across man-made fertilizer or other poisons, ant poisons, and other toxins in the backyard. There's the unfortunate toxins you breathe from corporate industries, the mercury that's in fish, which is very high now, the pesticides in our foods. Think you're safe barbecuing? Well, it's 20 times more carcinogenic than cooking on a stove. You've got the processed foods, which have nitrosamines and other different types of preservatives. You ladies, when you clean, you have household chemicals that go through your fingers. by all means, wear gloves and try to find green cleaners if you can. The pollution from the monoxides, from the fuel exhaust, even the tap water. So do we need more glutathione today? Absolutely. What happens, now here inside of your body, glutathione, and this is a blow-up of the human cell, glutathione is made inside the cell. Its chemical name is GSH, the gamma sulfhydryl group. And glutathione is absolutely necessary to scavenge some of the OH molecules inside your cells. The H is passed over to the OH, and it makes it a H2O, and so it turns it to water, and it's sloughed off through the cell membrane and out through the urine or through the sweat mechanism. What happens if you don't have enough glutathione? Well, several things can happen. You don't have enough protection for the cell. So if a toxin, which is normally neutralized by glutathione can neutralize it right at the surface of the cell. But if it breaks through the cell and damages a few strands of the DNA, you now have what's called a mutated cell. The mutated cell is mutated for life. And when it splits, you're now going to have 2 mutated cells. When those split, you'll have 4 mutated cells. And when that splits, you'll have 8. When that splits, 16. And then 32. And then 64. And then 128. And then 256. And what do you have in a few months? You have a tumor that is out of control. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is now understood to be how cancer is formed in your body. And if you noticed, it came from one cell, one little cell that was not protected. So it's quite amazing the impact of what can happen if there's not sufficient glutathione. Now, it's interesting that it's been discovered if you can dramatically enhance glutathione in your body, it has the opposite effect on cancer. It's something called negative feedback inhibition. So we're going to teach you tonight some modalities that can help you even in your quest to implement therapeutic aid to fighting cancer. And that's what's really needed to be spread around. And those of you that are on the phones tonight, once you learn this, you're going to be kind of obligated to tell your friends, particularly someone that might be fighting cancer. So obviously the highest levels of glutathione are in your liver. In fact, it's been estimated over 60% of all glutathione in your body is in your liver. So it helps detoxify your whole body. And if you don't have enough glutathione, the liver is going to be one of the first things that'll suffer. That's why people that drink heavily, of course, you guessed it, alcohol does lower glutathione levels. So people that drink heavily can actually get liver problems, cirrhosis, and other types of complications with their liver. Dr. Braverman calls glutathione the toxic waste neutralizer of the body. Now let's get in briefly to the letter E, energy. We didn't know this years ago, but glutathione is really a part of the energy complex. Now I'm going to be in the future doing a whole presentation on glutathione and sports. So over the next month or two, we're going to be doing some additional subjects, and that'll be one of them. In fact, if you have a friend who's involved with elite exercise or into sports, you're going to be really doing them a favor to tell them about glutathione. If you don't have enough glutathione in the cell, and it's not neutralizing the oxyradicals. These oxyradicals will steal hydrogen for the mitochondria. Among other things, the mitochondria is involved with your energy. It's really what helps you have get up and go. How many people have you heard tell you their get up and go got up and went? America, and I'm sure many parts of the world, are experiencing an energy crisis. You go to a 7-Eleven, and the whole entire wall is full of these energy drinks: Mad Dog, Red Bull, Venom, Monster. It's scary, some of the names they give these drinks. But people are pushing their bodies. And these energy drinks are not creating energy. They're draining the adrenaline system. So if you want to really increase energy, you have to get your mitochondria to work more efficiently. And by raising glutathione, that's what you're going to be able to do. A study done in McGill University in Montreal found that using the product Immunical, which is patented to raise glutathione, showed a 13% increase in muscle strength and endurance. So your stamina, your energy levels dramatically go up when you increase the glutathione. The last point to be mentioned is its glutathione's effect on aging. The sad truth is that you lose glutathione at the age of 21. It begins to dramatically drop during your 40s and 50s, and it continues until you die. The exception to that has been found to be individuals that are over the age of 95, and they're called the oldest old, and these have remarkably high levels of glutathione. Now, some of you might ask, well, how is this possible? Well, first of all, they've outlived everyone else. So glutathione apparently was helpful in getting them to live into their 90s and past. But we've found that some of these people have accidentally been raising glutathione by different aspects in their life, which I'll talk about maybe a little bit later. But a study that was published in The Lancet by Fletcher and Fletcher showed that elderly inpatients in hospitals have the lowest levels of glutathione. Outpatients have twice as much, but a healthy elderly person that still is able to work and function on their own, they have the highest levels of glutathione. But it's possible to take you from that level right up to the level of a young person in as quickly as 30 days if you start to deliberately raise glutathione levels. So let's see what you learned tonight. What are the 5 things that stand for an idea? What do you remember the AN stands for? That's right, antioxidant. What does the I stand for? Immune support. The D, detoxification. The E, energy. The A, anti-aging. So now you've all got the ability to write an idea on a paper napkin over a coffee break with your friends and neighbors and tell them about glutathione. Now, the question is, why do we need to be concerned with this? We lose glutathione on a daily basis. First of all, there are different things that can tax and accelerate the loss of glutathione. I already mentioned a household drug like Tylenol. If your diet is very poor and you eat a lot of fried foods or barbecued foods, you're going to lower your glutathione. If you injure yourself, break something, burn yourself, it'll exhaust glutathione while your body repairs itself. High levels of stress. If you're fighting an infection, if you live in a big city where there's pollution, if you're over the age of 40, you need to take more precursors for glutathione. And if you're exposed to radiation, for instance, you fly in a lot of airplanes, or maybe you're an airline pilot or a stewardess, you need more glutathione. If you're not doing this, there's dire consequences. The glutathione depletion will result in the fast aging of your cells, disease, and ultimately death. And this is something that, of course, is out of control in the United States and in many parts of the world. So, as you have surmised through our presentation, glutathione cannot be raised by eating it. You actually have to make it. So therefore, do not buy glutathione at a health food store. It's a waste of money. Amazingly, I'm surprised they haven't taken it off the shelf yet. There's no clinical research that shows it's got any benefits. You have to eat the precursors, and then your body can make glutathione. Now here's the problem. Not all precursors are created equal. Now I'm going to go quickly through some drugs or synthetic means of raising glutathione. And each of them have their own drawbacks. N-acetylcysteine is not recommended for long-term use. It's toxic. It peaks very quickly and has a short half-life. It has to be swallowed or injected multiple times during the day, and it has side effects. Some people have even gone into anaphylactic shock. So it's good for, in some cases, emergency use, but not for long-term use. SAMe, or S-adenosol methionine, is a good way to do it, but it's expensive. It has side effects at therapeutic doses, and it can agitate and cause gastrointestinal problems. Same with OTC and OTZ. But there's an enzyme that is required for processing it, and it's not in everybody. And this is not readily available to the general public. There's GSH monoesters and diesters, but in some cases they may be metabolized into alcohol, so you actually may be depleting your GSH. So there's still more research that needs to be done on it. Now there's some natural compounds, and we're going to discuss these because they have some benefits, but in some cases they have drawbacks. Excuse me. As I already mentioned, glutathione taken orally is pretty much worthless, so don't bother with it. It is destroyed in the stomach and passed as waste. I even read one study in which a person that ate glutathione actually lowered their glutathione, so I really forget about it. You can buy a synthetic cysteine. It can raise glutathione minimally, but it's easily oxidized in the stomach. And if you take too much of it, it can give you hypercystinemia, so it's potentially toxic. And if it further oxidizes in the bloodstream, it can cause some toxic byproducts. Methionine, got to be careful with it, but it can be toxic at certain doses, and it can also produce homocysteine, which is the opposite of cysteine, and it could be it's a high risk factor for atherosclerosis. Melatonin is, on the other hand, a good source. Now, it doesn't raise glutathione that efficiently, but it's a natural hormone and antioxidant. Anyone that had glutathione in the or cancer in the brain would especially want to raise melatonin because it'll help boost the glutathione production in the brain. Now, one of the natural substances I've come across that can do this is called Montmorency cherry concentrate. So Montmorency cherry concentrate can raise glutathione, help raise glutathione because it raises melatonin in the brain. Glutamine is actually one of the 3 amino acids. It's usually not necessary because you really don't need it. There's abundant glutamine in the normal diet that most people eat, and so it's generally not needed. Now, lipoic acid is a helpful antioxidant. I do recommend that you take lipoic acid. It helps neutralize toxins, and it also is needed to convert oxidized GSSG back into the reduced form of glutathione. And silymarin, which is milk thistle, has the ability to raise glutathione also. It's an herb which is unfortunately not regulated, and so when you buy silymarin, who knows whether you got silymarin in it or not. They have done studies on some herbs on shelves, and sometimes I know they did one on St. John's wort not long ago, and they found 50% of the St. John's wort on the shelf in the health food store had no St. John's wort in the bottle whatsoever. So if you know that you're getting good silymarin, then yes, it's beneficial. But it has some gastronomical distress elements to it. Whey proteins are touted as a source for raising glutathione, but in my research I found that the vast majority of them will not. Why? Well, it's because of how they're prepared. If you can take the whey protein and scoop it out of these big tubs they come in and drop them in a glass of water, and if it stirs right in, I can pretty much assure you they're not going to raise glutathione. It would have to float to be able to produce glutathione because it would have to be undenatured. Now, the exception to that is Immunical. It's the only bioactive whey protein that's patented to be bioactive. A special process preserves the undenatured proteins as the highest level of glutathione promoting activity. It's produced pharmaceutically. It has its own patents with clinical studies to prove that it works. And it has, interestingly, been given chemotherapeutic status in some countries. Imagine a chemotherapy that's all natural and doesn't get you sick. There's no side effects, no contraindication. In my opinion, it's the safest, most effective way to raise and sustain glutathione. Now, I do suggest if you're raising glutathione to also take these particular vitamins: selenium, B1, B2, B6, B12, folic acid, vitamin C, no more than 500 milligrams a day of vitamin C. Vitamin E, preferably a dry tocopherol in the range of 400 units. Magnesium, vanadium, and zinc. Now, there are a few foods that raise glutathione, but the more I've looked into it, the more I've realized that foods today really don't really cut it because you have to take so many foods. For instance, you'd have to eat a truckload of broccoli. And it has to be raw. If you cook it, it destroys the cystine. You'd have to eat probably a dozen raw eggs, and they have to be raw. And due to the prevalence of salmonella, I don't recommend you eat raw eggs at all. Raw steak, maybe a pound of raw steak every day. Be careful for the bacteria though in steak. It can get you sick or even kill you. Raw fish is a very good alternative. In fact, the longest and oldest lived people in the world are from Okinawa, and they eat raw fish all the time. Problem is that raw fish now has a lot of mercury, so that's another complication you got to be careful about. The proteins that have the highest amount of glutathione enhancement happens to be found in mother's milk. So mother's milk, breast milk, really is of tremendous benefit to a newborn because it keeps the glutathione levels very high. The baby's immune system is strong. However, for an adult, there's a slight problem. Usually it's very hard to get for an adult. So what Dr. Bunos did was he discovered how to extract these proteins from raw milk and make it into a form of a powder. And so it takes 125 liters of milk, raw milk, to make one box of Immunical. And inside of it, there's 30 pouches, and you take one pouch a day, and that will be what you need to keep your glutathione maximized in your body. Now, if you're over the age of 40, because it gets more difficult to make glutathione, you need to take 2 pouches per day. Now, the company that produces Immunical went to great lengths to ensure the purest, highest quality in its product. The cows graze free range, mostly organic. There's no hormones ever given to the herd. There's no antibiotics ever used. And these proteins are extracted with a cold process so that they leave the milk behind and have these proteins in the form of a very fine powder. And the lactose is removed, the fats are removed, the casein is removed. It's pharmaceutically prepared. And I would say really this is the best source of natural glutathione precursors in existence worldwide. It's a patented protein supplement. It's the flagship product of Immunotech, and it's been the subject of research for over 30 years. They're doing ongoing studies. There's a new study just being released or just being started on autism. They've done studies on cancer. They've done studies on many different aspects of health, and it's very, very safe to use. Has a lot of credibility, 6 North American patents, 77 international patents, 34 published medical studies. It's listed in the Red Book of Prescription Products, the Physician's Desk Reference, the PDR, the Canadian Compendium of Drugs. It's allowed to make claims by Health Canada. It's Medicare and Medicaid reimbursed in many parts of the United States. Even Dr. Montagnier, who won the Nobel Prize for Medicine, has included it in his chapter on oxidative stress, and his book on oxidative stress and cancer and AIDS. It has a whole chapter 42 on Immunical, its application in AIDS and cancer. So you would have to look far and wide to find something that's as comparable. Now, a research link for you would be pubmed.gov. You can type in, for instance, glutathione and cancer. Just type in, go to pubmed.gov and type in glutathione and cancer. You'll spend many, many days scrolling through the hundreds, thousands of published clinical papers on the benefits of glutathione in cancer. Well, at this point, you might have some personal questions that you may not want to address tonight. If so, you can always call our toll-free number, leave your name and telephone number or email or whatever, and we'll get back to you very shortly. If you'd like to find out how to get the Immunical product, we can let you know about that as well. Now, if there's any questions that you'd like to ask tonight, I'm going to turn over the call to Dr. David. He'll field those questions, and probably for the next 15 or 20 minutes, we'll answer these questions. Okay, so back to you, Dr. David.
Well, thank you very much, James. This, again, has been really informative. It just amazes me at what glutathione can do, and what even amazes me more is, like you said, how few people really appreciate the value of this. Would you call it a nutrient or a substance? Basically, it's a substance in the body.
Well, glutathione is a tripeptide protein molecule, and it's found in every cell of your body.
No, that's amazing. Now, there's another one called CoQ10, which is found in every cell of your body, and it's also an antioxidant. How do these two measure up against each other?
Well, CoQ10 is a good antioxidant, but again, it's modulated by glutathione. Glutathione is the master antioxidant.
Wow. So glutathione actually, I did not realize that. Because CoQ10 was not one of the, I know you had mentioned vitamin E, vitamin C, and the others, but CoQ10 as well?
Of course, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow. Now, do statins also reduce glutathione the way they reduce CoQ10 in the body?
Does what reduce CoQ10?
Statins, the cholesterol drugs.
Yeah, well, statins reduce. Actually, they raise oxidative stress, so they're going to be an anti. They're going to be an oxidative factor throughout your body.
Right. So will they reduce glutathione the way they reduce CoQ10?
Yes, they will.
Got it. Okay, questions. Folks, go ahead and type in your questions. We have a few that have already come in. The questions you can type in the box to your right. Here's the first one by Pat. Well, it's not the first one, but is it possible to take too much or have too much glutathione in your body? So is it possible to take too much Immunical?
That's a very good question. And the answer is no. Glutathione is a very tightly regulated production system inside of each cell. So you can never overdose glutathione. Your body will make just as much as you need in every cell. The real problem nowadays is not being able to make what you need. So if you had an abundance of precursors and you did not need as much of the precursors because you've optimized glutathione in every cell, the body will just use the precursors as it would any other type of protein, like, for instance, ham and eggs.
Okay. Can it be stored? The excess be stored?
No. No.
Okay.
You have to keep the precursors in the bloodstream circulating on a daily basis so that when you need more glutathione, it'll simply fuel the cell, and the cell will upregulate the glutathione.
Okay. Is this product made in the United States?
It actually is. It's made in Idaho, where they have a special herd, and it's shipped over to Canada, where it's pharmaceutically packaged in Montreal, and then it's shipped worldwide.
Okay. How to take it? Joan, what do you mean how to take it? Maybe you need to explain some more. Okay. Is Immunocal a shake or something you take quickly with water? What are the flavors?
Immunocal has to be mixed with a liquid or a substance that will rehydrate it. So you could put it in applesauce or even baby food. Once you get it rehydrated, then you drink it or you eat it. I like it with orange juice, grape juice, acai juice. I mean, there's a number of different juices that I take it with. You basically can put 1 pouch with an ounce of liquid, or even 2 pouches with an ounce of liquid in a special cup, and you shake it very vigorously, and it turns into cream. And then after you get the creamy consistency, you add another couple of ounces of liquid to make it a little more liquidy, and then you drink it down.
Now, is there a danger in shaking it too vigorously? I thought
No, you couldn't hurt it that way. But if you put it in a high-speed blender, the speed and the friction of the steel blade can break the disulfide bond, and that could injure it. So you wouldn't want to mix it in a high-speed blender, but if you mix it in a mixing cup or in a very slow mixer, then it should be okay.
Okay. Now,
I would suggest, though, that there's 2 things that you don't mix it in. Don't mix it with papaya juice or pineapple juice, because those 2 types of juices have proteolytic enzymes, and they can actually break down Immunocal. And one final thing, don't ever put it in anything hot. If you pour hot water on Immunocal, it instantly destroys it.
I see. Knowing cancer patients have a problem swallowing or taking anything in, and obviously I'm assuming that you're going to need a lot of this to help with cancer patients. What are the suggestions for helping them take it in?
Well, it can be a problem and problematic, because some cancer patients are not able to eat that much. I would suggest, though, that what little they do eat, they try to eat the Immunocal, because you have to have protein. One of the problems of cancer is that the person in late-stage cancer can't process protein, and so they begin to eat themselves. They eat their own muscle, and that's why it's called wasting syndrome. In clinical study after clinical study, we found that by adding Immunocal to the diet of a person that's in wasting syndrome, it stops the wasting syndrome. It reverses it. So very, very, very important for someone with advanced stage cancer to add Immunocal to their diet. This is clinically proven to be very, very beneficial. And how much to take? Well, it depends on their body size and the stage of the cancer, but I do a minimum of 4 pouches. And if there's other complications, well, then just call the 800 number, and we'll talk about it on an individual basis. By the way, if you're taking more than 2 pouches per day, wait a few hours and take another 2 pouches later on. So if you're doing 4 pouches, don't take all 4 at one time. Give your body the ability to process the protein and to raise the glutathione, and then take 2 more pouches later on.
Okay. All right. This is gluten-free, yes?
Yes, it's gluten-free. It has no cystine, no fats in it. It has no lactose in it. It has no casein in it. So really, even a person that's very, very allergic to milk usually can take Immunical with no problems.
Great. All right, John wants to know, is there any evidence that glutathione helps raise neurotransmitter levels?
Well, not that I'm aware of. It does raise the body's ability to have circulation better. We've seen that in a number of studies that I've seen, which means that persons that are diabetic and they have very, very great difficulty with circulation. In fact, their extremities begin to get numb and their toes begin to turn black, and sometimes they have to cut off their toes and their feet. I've seen raising glutathione levels reverse that very, very quickly. So I could, hypothesize that it could help with circulation in the brain. It does cross the blood-brain barrier, but again, I haven't seen any clinical studies on this, so it's just a hypothesis.
All right. John also wants to know, can you talk about the process whereby glutathione helps increase energy? And you did say you were going to talk about it with regards to athletics sometime in the near future.
Yes, it's been clinically shown to increase stamina and physical performance by 13 to 15%. And that was done in a controlled study with healthy young men in their 20s, all the same age and same body weight. So that dramatically indicates that if it raises that much physical strength and stamina in a young guy in their 20s, imagine what it'll do for someone in their 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. All right, someone wants to know the cost. I guess they would have to call you and talk to you about that. So why don't you give out that number again, especially for those who are calling in and can't see your screen?
I actually think it's very affordable. It's somewhere around $2.30 for a pouch, wholesale, and we can help get a wholesale account set up for people. But I mean, most people spend $2 a day on a coffee or a bottle of water. So really, this can greatly impact your health at a very, very low price.
Okay. An old pharmacy book I read, this is Brenda talking, mentioned that when mixing whey protein into liquid, it would form toxic substances unless consumed right away. Can this be mixed ahead of time to drink later? Well,
it really doesn't. In the case of Immunical, it's not going to produce any toxic results. But if you mix it, it will denature in a short period of time. So it's beneficial to mix it and drink it right at the time you're going to do it. Don't let it sit for hours, because it will denature. That's the main reason. And if it's denatured, it won't be able to bring in the cystine, which is needed to make the glutathione.
Okay. Children, what age can they? 12, under 12 to take? Is it safe?
I would say any child. My son has been on Immunical since he's 8 months old. He's now 13, and he never needed an antibiotic, his whole life. So he's really enjoyed good health.
Wow.
I would say any child that stops nursing his mother should really be supplemented with Immunical. Now, you don't need to give it every day. You could do it, once or a couple of times a week. But as a child gets bigger, start giving them, a pouch a day eventually when they get into their teenage years.
Got it. What cherry concentrates? I guess you mentioned that somewhere. Did you?
Yes. Well, Immunotech also carries Montmorency concentrate. So if you get an account set up with them, you can also order it from them. Otherwise, it's very hard to find, quite frankly.
Okay, we're getting to the last few questions. You mentioned this as a bioactive whey protein. I take it has all the amino acids. How is it reimbursed by Medicare?
Well, it's the code is P450, and it's reimbursed in all 50 states for Medicare and about a dozen states for Medicaid. The Medicaid, frankly, is the better of the two because they give you the boxes right across the counter with your prescription. Medicare has made it very difficult because I think they're going broke, and they have stipulated that you have to have it tube fed or they won't reimburse it. So in that case, you're better off just buying it. But again, these are questions you could call in the 800 number, and then I'll go over some more in detail about it. Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. This is a dicey one. And does this help a child who has ADHD?
First of all, it helps any child. So it has a broad spectrum benefit to any child. Very specifically, it's not going to alter the ADHD. I do have some suggestions on some things that have been very, very remarkably beneficial to ADHD. And just call the 800 number, and I'll give you some products that can be helpful.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, folks, any more questions? We're going to wrap it up for tonight. So if you're still thinking about typing a question, now is a good time to do so. And I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight for another very, very informative presentation. And hopefully we'll get James to do another one on athletic comments. Okay. All right. Shirley asked about this earlier, and of course, in all your presentations, as you know, James, this question will always come up. And you guessed it. What do you think about Max GXL compared to this?
Well, Max GXL is a product that uses N-acetylcysteine as the main element to raise glutathione. And I've talked extensively tonight about N-acetylcysteine. I don't recommend it at all for long-term use. If you read the instructions on Max GXL, you'll see that it says it has to be taken multiple times a day. If you look up N-acetylcysteine in a medical encyclopedia, you'll find it is listed as a toxic substance. Who in their right mind would want to take a toxic substance multiple times a day, every day of their life? It's lunacy. Once you have taken it for extended periods of time, it tends to get into the tissue. It breaks down into different types of things that are oxidative. It's been shown to throw off antibodies. The doctor that actually developed Max GXL dropped dead more than a year ago, and not a good advertisement for his product. And I would suggest that you be very cautious with this product and any product that's strictly N-acetylcysteine.
Okay, there you go. All right, thank you, James and David. Catherine says, thank you. You answered so many questions. Joan from Australia says, okay, well, thank you guys for joining us.
Greetings to Joan, and I hope she's having some good results over there in Australia where we sent her.
Absolutely. Amy, I hope Amy is doing better. Okay. James, thank you so much. Any final words?
Well, I just want to tell everyone to start spreading the word about these webinars, and hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll be doing another subject, and you can have some of your friends and neighbors on, and we'll look forward to talking with you then. So good night to everybody.
Perfect. Good night. Thank you, folks. Thank you, James. God bless. Bye.
Bye-bye.